Hello, and welcome to episode 3 of Breastfeeding and All the Ish That No One Told Us, brought to you by Orole. My name is Ana Rojas Bacidas, and I will be your host. Today, we're going to be talking about U.S. breastfeeding policies. But first, our disclaimer. So by now, you see that there are a lot of international agencies and local agencies that are working together to promote breastfeeding. So we're not going to go into why breastfeeding is so amazing because we know that most of us know why that is. Instead, what we're going to talk about today is to what the specific breastfeeding policies are and initiatives here in the US, because that's where I am based out of. These policies are largely driven by international recommendations, whether it's UNICEF, whether it's the World Health Organization, the United Nations, etc., etc. So there are two really critical initiatives. The first one was in 1981, and in 1981, the World Health Organization adopted the International Code for Marketing of Breast Milk Substitutes. And this is in 1981. What they recognized at this time is that mothers were being targeted in hospitals and getting those free bags. So again, it is not an anti-formula campaign, but rather being able to provide the families the support and the education that they needed in order to be able to breastfeed successfully. These aggressive marketing through the formula companies, however, were creating a big hindrance. So they said hospitals should do their absolute best to make sure that families receive education, that they receive support, but more importantly, if they are to receive formula, it should be done so in the same way that they receive anything else from a hospital. Any sort of medication given to you is not given in any sort of advertised way. It's not given to you with a packaging and everything. If it's given to you, it's given to you as a prescription, right? So if you get some sort of, let's say, Tylenol, they don't bring the bottle out to you and give you the bottle. Rather, they give you the pre-prescribed measurements in a cup, in a whatever, and then that's it. Whereas with formula, again, it's given to the parent through in a very marketed way. If a child does need formula, it should be given to that parent in the same way they would give anything else. Now, as you can imagine, a lot of countries were really on board with that, and most of them were, except for the US. The US, once again, is one of the only developed countries in the world that refuse to be a part of this initiative. You know this because they continue to give out free sample bags to families all over the country. Fast forward to 1991, and UNICEF and the World Health Organization created the BabyFriendly Hospital Initiative. The two parts to this was the implementation of the 10 steps to successful breastfeeding and the implementation of the International Code for Marketing of Breast Milk Substitutes. So, how well did the US do? In 1997, 6 years after this initiative, they did establish BabyFriendly USA. In 2007, they reported that whopping 3% of births were occurring in baby-friendly hospitals. And in 2017, they reported that 28% of births were occurring in baby-friendly hospitals. Now, while that is an amazing jump, to put it into perspective, there's over 2,500 birthing hospitals in the US, and less than 1,000 are designated as baby-friendly hospitals. If you're curious like me, you can actually check the BabyFriendly USA website to find your hospital or a hospital near you that has been designated as baby-friendly. I searched, and sadly, both of the hospitals that I delivered at in Florida and in Texas were not designated as baby-friendly, but I did notice that a hospital near me was, and it just so happened a friend of mine gave birth last year there. So twin, congratulations, you hit the jackpot. And you can see the difference in between all the hospitals almost immediately. I also am familiar with this hospital because it's where I went to go donate my milk. And we'll talk about human milk donation in another video. And you saw all the resources that were available immediately for the families and afterwards. So there was a whole center with free information, with products, with lactation counselors, right there on the floor outside of the maternity ward. And it was just so refreshing to see because it was normalized, it was out there, and it makes a huge difference. It's something that we have to advocate for, and is changing. But as you can see, 28% in 20 years, not great. Also, if you look at where these hospitals are located, they are in very affluent neighborhoods, which means part of the systemic racism continues even in the way we designate baby-friendly hospitals. So what is the point of this video? It's not about doom and gloom. It's not saying, oh my gosh, look at how terrible of a job we're doing. Not exactly. It's saying, if you don't feel educated, if you don't feel ready, if you don't feel that you're being supported, you're probably right. And breastfeeding is one of the most commonly known bodily functions of humanity. And yet, when the time comes, we don't have the support or the education to be able to successfully complete our breastfeeding journey. CDC reports that 60% of individuals who start breastfeeding report that they ended their breastfeeding journey before they had intended. So all of these numbers mean something. If we have 83% of people initiating breastfeeding on day one, despite no education, despite no support, there is hope. So it's not all doom and gloom. It's to say, hey, we're all in the same boat. And that's why we're creating this video series. That is why we are hosting our webinar and fundraiser at the end of the month in partnership with the Brooklyn Perinatal Network. By the end of this series, I will say their name properly, to bring light to these conversations, but to also fundraise so that we can continue to support these communities. Ways that you can advocate for yourself is to discover whether or not your hospital is baby friendly. You can request to not receive any bags, and from the beginning say, we're not interested in having any freebies, thank you so much. Now bring another bag so that you can put all the stuff that comes into that cart in there, because you're not going to give up on diapers and wipes and all that other stuff. And ask what sort of support systems exist out there. If they don't have a lactation consultant on site, you can request the lists of them. Many lactation consultants and lactation counselors are moving towards telehealth and telemedicine. While it is no substitute for actually being in person, it is a great alternative. Having support and having encouragement goes a long way. In the meantime, remember to hit that subscribe button so that you can be alerted when we have new videos coming out. And of course, if you have not registered for our kickoff party, I will leave the link below, so you can join us on August 23rd, where we can meet Omari Maynard, our artist, and a representative from the Brooklyn Perinatal Network, to talk about the maternal mortality crisis, what we can do, and of course, see a beautiful piece of art. In the meantime, I hope you have an amazing afternoon, evening, morning, night, wherever you are on this amazing planet, and we'll talk again soon. Bye.